Archie Slaymaker, International Boxing News. And I'm joined by Shane Watson. Shane, how are you today in sunny Las Vegas?
All good, mate. Yeah, nice sunny Vegas today. I'm gonna go back inside 'cause it's a bit loud out here with the airplanes going over. But yeah, no, it's going well. We've been in one day. We've been in here. Joe started camp yesterday. We've got Guido Vinello here as well, who's started camp at Simon Keane. He fights on August 19th. Chief support for the Turbio against Callum Smith show. So yeah, good. It's busy, looking active, looking good. So. A good start to camp. There's not a lot to say so far because we're literally one day in, doing the second day today. Joe is taking over in the UK as well, but camp officially started yesterday. So yeah, there's not a million things to tell right now, but he's looking good and mentally he's in a good place.
Obviously, that's the main thing. Obviously, mentally going into this fight. Obviously, we all know what happened last time. Obviously, the rematch, September 23, OVO Arena. It's a slightly bigger arena than usual. Do you think this fight will sell a lot better than last time due to obviously what happened in the first fight?
I think it's a bigger fight. Before it was the Joe Joyce show. It was all about Joe Joyce coming back after the Parker fight, fighting again in London. Virtually no one bought a ticket to watch Zhang that night, and that's just being truthful, not disrespectful at all. I was respectful to Zhang in the build up the whole time, how good of a heavyweight he is, and he showed tonight how good he is, didn't he? But now Jay's probably an underdog, and it's just an amazing fight. There's no way it's not going to be a fan-friendly fight. The styles don't mix to be anything other than fan-friendly. We just got to make sure that we win it this time. So yeah, I think it would sell even better. It depends, obviously, if they're going to be show cashes. If I've just seen reports online, I've got no actual information, but if Ben gets cleared and fights Eubank on the same day, it's not the nicest show to go up against. That's obviously a massive fight in the same city. Um, so you have to wait and see. But I know that Frank's putting money into a good undercard as well. So uh, that might help bolster the sales as well.
It will obviously be a massive fight. I'm just going to briefly touch on the first fight and obviously sort of go into the rematch. What do you believe? What do you believe needs to change, obviously, in Joe's performance to obviously counteract what happened in the first fight?
There are loads of things that need to change, and we're changing them. We're in the process of doing that. We've discussed as a team. We done, as Adam said on Fight Week, as I saw an interview, a full investigation on what went wrong and what could be corrected and what we can do to correct it. We've done that, and it's not just Joe; it's everyone as well. You know, it's strength and conditioning, it's trainer, it's me, it's everyone. So we've all got things we can do differently and do a little bit better. And if we all can collectively do that, I'm sure we'll get a different result on September 23rd. But yeah, there's a lot of things that needed to change, clearly. I think anyone that's watched Joey's whole career or knows Joe personally or watched him spar will know that was nothing like Joe Joyce in there on that fight night. So, which is a good thing because if we went in there 100% and Joe was at his absolute best and we got beaten like that, then there'd be some serious question marks from what we do moving forward, wouldn't there? So I'm happy that we know what we can do better and what the mistakes were, and we can correct them to make sure the same doesn't happen again.
I know you said the strength and conditioning. Obviously, Ismail Salas made a few comments after the fight in an interview with regarding, I think it was dropping 24 pounds. Obviously, I take it from that you believe the weight does need to change and Joe does need to come in heavier than before.
You know what? I'm not a strength conditioning coach. I've said this to people before. I was like, everyone makes comments. I was like, I can't tell a strength conditioning coach how to do his job. Just like I can't tell Andy Murray how to play tennis. You know, like at the end of the day, he's these people are professional at what they do, and they've been doing it their whole life. Yeah, I can't tell them what weights Joe should be lifting and what exercise Joe should be doing. I mean, looking at myself at the minute, I'm not in the greatest condition myself, right? So I'm in no position to
You've
be
been
telling
doing
other
the
people.
5Ks though. So you must
Sorry?
be, I've been seeing you doing the 5Ks in
Yeah,
Vegas.
I've
You
been
must be
doing the
in a
5Ks. I'm
decent
getting
shape.
there. I'm getting there slowly. By the end of camp, I might look like a lean light heavyweight, but hopefully, wishful thinking maybe. But yeah, there has to be changes. We've discussed what the changes are. I don't want to say too much because they're going to be giving a lot away. But at the end of the day, it's the strength conditioning coaches' job to make sure Joe is in the best possible condition, whether that's heavier, whether that's lighter, whether that's leaner, whether that's stronger, whether it's a few of those, whether it's none of those. That's his job. So I'll leave that down to him, and we will discuss internally how we go about that. So, and we have already discussed it anyway. It's not like we're discussing it. We've already discussed it, and we're working on it on a day-by-day basis.
Obviously, there was so many question marks. Obviously, after that fight, obviously Joe activated the rematch clause. Openly said he wanted the rematch clause. There was a bit of talk if Zhang was getting the Fury fight. Obviously, there was no doubt in Joe's mind. I'm pretty sure that it was going to be Zhang next in his own mind. But was it a difficult decision from yourself, Adam, and everyone at SJAM to go into the rematch straight away?
No, not at all, because like I said, it'd been a difficult decision to make. If we'd done everything right, we was 100% going in there, no stone was left unturned, and there'd be a real issue in what we do moving forward, wouldn't there? But knowing that there was a million things that we could do better and change, then it gives us a lot of confidence going into the rematch if we activate all of those changes. So, and we are in the process of doing that now. So, and it's not just that. Joe's worked very hard and fought very hard fights in a short space of time early on in his career, which I think certain other heavyweights mentioned no name should be doing. And we ain't gonna. Well, not I say we, but we do things as a team. But Joe ain't gonna give it up that easily. Well, he's going to lose his mantra, whatever it's status. So he worked so hard to get because of Zhilei Zhang. I don't think so. So it weren't that hard. There were a few other options that we did speak about, if I'm being completely honest, that didn't materialize because of a certain somebody wasting time. But it is what it is. But listen, I'm so excited for the rematch, and I'm so excited for Joe to right the wrongs, to shut up the people that have doubted him since the fight and that have talked a lot of rubbish. And yeah, it's going to be an exciting fight. And much respect to Zhang as well, because he's an incredible competitor and he's a great fighter.
I think it'll be satisfying for not just Joe. I think the whole team. I think you're one for being on social media. I think you see everything that everyone writes, but I think Joe going straight into the rematch is similar in the way how Joshua went straight into the Usyk rematch. Joe can't win in this situation. I don't think AJ could win, and I know I wrote on our page earlier that Gary Cully can't win if he goes straight into the rematch. One way people look at it, if he loses, he's done. But if he doesn't take it, he's a duck. Do you see it in that way on social media and in your own head as well?
I mean, it's a bit different at Gary Cully. That's at a much lower level.
It's
I
a
mean,
bit
that
lower.
can be swerved because there's a million of those guys. I mean, we're talking about Joe operating at a serious elite world level here, where the money's serious, where the opportunities are serious, where the occasions are serious, headlining on BT and TNT Sports now and whatnot. Like, you have to kind of go for broke in those situations. Like Gary Cully, I don't really think should be rematching that guy. Number one, I think he should move up in weight. And number two, I think that it was just a terrible opponent for him. Gary Cully's a very good fighter. I've seen him spar a few times. Very, very good. And you know what? He's such a nice guy. But I just don't think that's the right fight for him. And that's definitely not the right weight division for him. I think sometimes at that level, you can maybe swerve because it's like I said, it's not elite world level. There's only a few names you can fight. And then maybe in a few fights' time, you can fight him in a weight division above or something. If we really want to, that would probably be a smarter idea. But that was a bad knockout as well. That was like, see, Joe, he got stopped on an eye injury. It's a very different kind of defeat. On his worst possible night, he got stopped on an eye injury. He would have beaten Zhang if the eye injury didn't happen. And it's just like people can have their opinions, but who was coming on strong when the fight got stopped? It was Joe. If you look at the punch stats, Zhang was tired coming on square. Joe was unloading punches. Eventually, would have stopped him in the later rounds, or at least beaten him on points. But we didn't get that far, so it's a bit irrelevant even saying that. And Zhang won fair and square. It should have been stopped. The eye injury was bad, and it was caused by punches, so fair enough then. But yeah, it's very different. Gary Cully, yeah, I wouldn't advise going into an immediate rematch with that guy.
Well, then like the Joshua one, I think was quite the same. He couldn't win going into it, and I can see on social media, I read quite a lot of it that people are not giving Joe a chance in the rematch. Really,
Who said this?
just people on social media when we
Oh yeah,
reported it, people were saying Zhang's going to win. Zhang's going to win easy. Obviously, just reading that, I know. Obviously, you've seen what Joe can do, and the whole team can see what Joe can do in the ring and in sparring. I can imagine it is quite frustrating reading that. Obviously, knowing that, and I know it's going to be satisfying come September the 23rd when if Joe gets his hand raised.
fuel to the fire. Is what I say about things like that. You know, people naysayers and people saying you can't do something. Fuel the fire to do something. Everyone told Joe he wouldn't beat DeBar. Added fuel to the fire, smash him to bits and smash his eye socket. People said he wouldn't beat Parker. Too quick for him. What did he do to him? Smashed him to bits and stopped him. And you know, now everyone's saying he won't do Zhang. What he goes and does Zhang, he'll go and do the same as to the others as well. So people can say what they want to say. At the end of the day, they're public. They can express their opinions. You know, it's a brutal game boxing. He's one fight and the world turns against you and thinks you're the worst heavyweight in the world out of nowhere. But at the end of the day, I don't really care what people have got to say as long as Joe's happy, Joe's performing well, and Joe goes and gets the win. The rest of it's irrelevant, really. It's just people in the pub having a pint, having an opinion, isn't it? And they can have that. That's up to them. But at the end of the day, what do they see? These same people are telling me that Joe should be sparring southpaws, and Joe sparred southpaws for 6 weeks, maybe a bit more, 3 days a week. Never sparred an orthodox once. And then they've got a picture of him and Johnny Fisher and said, "Look, he's not even sparring Johnny Fisher." I was like, "What could have got a picture together?" Is that what I mean? But yeah, no, it is what it is. It is what it is. You know what it is, man. It's a bit of a reality check for me as well. I mean, I've never really suffered abuse like that on social media before after a fight, and I guess I deserved it. I did talk a bit in the build up, so I do deserve it, you know. But yeah, no, I'm looking forward to the rematch, and Joe's going to get the job done, and he's going to get it done well as well. He's really, really focused, and I'm excited for it.
Going to be an explosive night. Two massive heavyweights, September the 23rd. I'm going to go on to
And
two
do you
other.
know what? Just to leave it on there, yeah. Apart from the announcement of Joshua White, and I don't want to be disrespectful, I think one of those have maybe seen better days at the office. But these are two guys, heavyweights that are fighting each other. Look at the announcement we got today of a certain other heavyweight, you know. You've got Joyce didn't need to fight Zhang in the first place, fought him because he's a fighting man and he wanted to get a southpaw in, rematching him straight away, in which is going to be an absolute brutal fight again. But look at what these other guys doing. I'm actually asking, what are they doing? Like, you know, so at least they're doing it. You know, at least they're not afraid to fight anyone. These people talk about no fights getting made. At least Joe wants to go in there and fight anyone and everyone. You know, he's never turned down a fight in his life, so he deserves credit. At the end of the day, you can talk shit about me. Maybe I deserve shit and stuff, and that's fine. But Joe shouldn't be getting discredit because that guy fights anyone and everyone, and he talks no bullshit on camera. He doesn't lie to fans. He doesn't missell things to fans. He's a real guy. He'll fight anyone. He trains hard, and he'll always put on a good show for the fans as well.
It's going to be massive. Obviously, we do hope. Obviously, all of the best heavyweights are fighting each other, and obviously, I will even say on camera myself, Joyce versus Zhang 2 is one of the pick out of the bunch. Out of all the ones, it's certainly better than a few that's been announced, and obviously we hope it's going to be an even incredible fight. There's no way it can't be. We're going to go on to the other two heavyweights in the stable. I'm going to start with English champion Solomon Dakers. There's a rumor that he's fighting on the August 19th show in Birmingham. Would you be able to confirm that at all?
There's a lot going on behind the scenes at the minute, if I'm being honest. There's not a lot I can actually really say on it, if I'm being completely honest. It's not anything that deep. It makes it sound like something crazy going on. There really isn't. But it just there's a lot of things going on around that at the moment. There's no opponent agreed or anything as of yet. So until there's an opponent at that level, it's a bit different. It's not like when you're just having a solid 6 rounder, 8 rounder. Until there's opponents agreed and titles and stuff, there's not really a lot to say on it.
I did see on Solomon Dakers' social media that there was an offer there for Jamie TKV to actually face him. Would you be able to speak on that, and if an offer has gone in, and if that was declined at all?
Yeah, he turned down multiple fight offers. I believe I was told which I imagine it would be because it's a title fight, and rightly so it should be by far career highest payday as well. So which is a shame because I like Jamie TKB. He seems like a nice guy, quite a good, well-rounded heavyweight that isn't getting many opportunities himself by the looks of things. Hasn't really fought anybody. Oh, he's had one. He's had one. Sorry, take that back. He's had one good win. He had a good win against Harry Armstrong. But I mean, it wasn't the most pleasing performance in the world. But he had a win against Harry Armstrong. He's a good name, and to be fair, I think he was undefeated at the time, wasn't he? 5-0, I think. So it's a good win in fairness to him. But he hasn't really got a bigger name yet. He hasn't really set the world alight. Is basically what I was getting at. And I thought it was a good opportunity for him. An ex-GB, I think, development squad heavyweight. Obviously, Sold Acres being a GB heavyweight, and both of them are lacking any real opportunities really. So I thought when that happens, usually both fight each other. But Jamie said he needed more time, and which I don't know what's going on in his personal life, so I don't want to be rude or comment too much. But a guy that's been sparring AJ for God knows how many weeks and is now in Vegas sparring as well, so I might have to be careful what I say. but, it's crazy that he wouldn't be ready to fight in a 10-rounder in a few weeks, but it is what it is. Well, not even a few weeks, got a month, so it's what it is. And the first offer was made a while ago as well, so it's not like he's just heard about it. But yeah, it is what it is. Every man's got their own path and their own plan, but yeah, maybe one day they can meet. But yeah, it's a shame. It's been a nice fight to have.
It would be a very good fight. We'll talk about a man who Jamie TKV did actually beat. There was a rumour as well, another rumour conveniently. The Romford Bull, Johnny Fisher, August 12th on the Anthony Joshua card. I'm pretty sure Eddie Hearn has actually confirmed that in his first title fight. Obviously, we assume that it will be for Southern Area title. Harry Armstrong's been heavily linked with that fight. I know you may not say if that fight is. I can see by the smile on your face that it might be the Southern Area title on August the 12th. But obviously, Johnny Fisher coming off a few really good wins, but against not at the level of opposition that some people may want him to face. If that fight is next for the Southern Area title, that is a very big step up and a very strong opponent.
You know what? It annoys me when people talk about Johnny Fisher's lack of the level of opponent fight. Right, just to put it out there, yeah. Like just so people, I get that not everyone will be able to dissect an opponent and their records and who they fought and who they spar, and then put that into why they're actually better than what they look, right? So we'll start off. He fought Whittaker, yeah, in his third professional fight, yeah. He was fought for titles before and whatnot, yeah, and not even with the most amount of notice either, right? But Whittaker was already in camp, stopped him in 2 rounds, whatever, done, yeah. He's also fought in Guema, who certain Olympians, yeah, to mention no names, won't be that hard to work out, didn't want to fight because he's awkward and because someone from their team had sparred him before and said, mate, do not fight him. He's very awkward. Yeah. And as you saw, he was very awkward. Yeah. Right. But they are not easy fights. That guy won rounds against Oscar Rivas. Yeah. And didn't get stopped or even momentarily hurt by Rivas. Yeah. And this is a guy who's only been boxing a few years, who was at uni and decided to spar Joyce, and then he's fighting people like that within a few fights, right? So people need to understand that before they give Johnny Fisher stick. Moving forward from that, he's beating guys like Reisinger, who are not bad at all. He's beating guys like even Salas in his last fight had beaten Nkosi Solomon, who won the Golden Gloves, which is one of the best amateur competitions you can possibly win. Yeah. And was meant to be the next big thing with his own. He beat him. He drew against the old Taylor Perez, who he actually did beat but got shafted. The old Taylor Perez had beaten Dominic Brazil and many top names in the amateur. Again, was another top amateur. Like, this guy was not bad at all. Just because Johnny clumped him in a round doesn't mean he's bad. It just means that Johnny has got a lot of power. People maybe get intimidated by his atmosphere. And he's improving drastically all the time. And why, as you guys will see, and I'm not going to mention any names or any belts, you will see why he's stepping up in his next fight because we are ready to hit the button with him now. It's just important that Johnny got all of his learning in sparring, which is where he develops and where he gets his learning. It's a bit different to the Olympians and high level amateurs because they've done all that in the amateurs, sparred some of the best fighters in the world and obviously competed against them. Whereas Johnny has to do all of that in sparring. So we can't go and fight Fraser Clark in 3 fights or 4 fights. We can't fight Fabio Wardley in 7 or 8 fights. But you know what? We can go into a step up now, evaluate how that goes, evaluate how the camp goes, and then we'll push them on accordingly.
That'd be very good. Obviously, if it is Harry Armstrong on August 12th, I think many people will be happy with that. And I can echo that. I've been down the gym many times, seen Johnny spar, seen Johnny on the pads. And obviously, for someone who has limited amateur background, those step ups have come. And like you said, now, August 12th, it will be in time. Obviously, I know Eddie has said it will be for the first title. I know you're not confirming anything at all, but it'll be a big step up on August 12th. I'm going to talk about Sir Lamont Richards, who's come back, obviously now training under Grant Smith, a very, very good fighter. I just want a quick update on Lerone, if that's all okay, and if the Zach Parker talks are still ongoing.
For Lerone?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, there are a few options for Lerone at the moment, and we are evaluating them and pushing on them, really. That's where we're at. There are options, which is good and it's positive. And there is direction, which again is positive and good. But where this next phase of Lerone's career will hopefully be the last one that we have to make, and it's definitely the most important. So we've waited this long already. We're not going to jump into something crazy without giving it some serious thought. But we are edging closer to the next decision and where we're going to move and do next and who we're going to fight.
Would that be moving up in weight, possibly?
I'm not really ruling anything out, to be honest with you. I'm not really ruling anything out. I mean, it's not impossible, but it's definitely not the forefront of our minds now.
No worries at all. And obviously, another one of your fighters, Florian Marku, heavily touted against Dylan Moran next. I can't imagine that. I don't think there is a date as of yet. I know August 5th was a possible London date that's been mentioned. Obviously, Florian coming back from an injury. Dylan Moran is a very tough opponent to obviously pick coming back off an injury. But how good is it to have Florian Marku back and firing under Grant Smith at Steel City?
Yeah, I mean, what a gym to be a part of. Look at the form that gym's in at the moment. It's actually incredible. It's like a family, that place. And I'm so happy that we've got 3 fighters there at the moment. Yeah, it's 3, yeah. 3 fighters at the moment. It's like honestly, like even I end up rooting for all the boys that we don't even look after. Like I think the world of Dalton, the world of Sonny. You've got Ebony Jones, and you've got I've gone blank now. You've got Nicola Bark. You've got a few other very good fighters down there as well. And you end up rooting for them all because they're such a nice group of people. But yeah, no, Florian's settled in really well there. He's been there a while now. I mean, he's part of the furniture now. But yeah, I mean, there's no confirmation on opponents and stuff yet. There's been rumours and leaks, but there's no confirmation of a fight, an actual fight date, or an opponent. And when there is, I'm sure Boxer will announce. But yeah, Florian doesn't really have easy fights. I can't remember the last time he had an easy fight ever. So he likes to test himself, and whoever the next opponent is, all being well with Florian and gets a good solid win in, injury free, he'll be in a big fight next.
Perfect. I'm going to talk about the last person in that stable under SJAM. I personally think, and I think quite a lot of the boxing community think he's one of the best prospects in the world who's matched very well. Janae Bostan defeated Ryan Amos over 8
You say
rounds.
matched very well.
I did. It's a compliment.
Oh, thanks, mate. Thank you.
No worries. Ryan Amos, you don't see many prospects going in against undefeated challengers.
Yeah, I
Ryan
mean,
Amos.
I made a comment about this recently, like when I was hyping the fight up on social media and that. How many prospects do you get that are even Olympic gold medalists? Yeah, again, we'll go back to the Olympic mark, or international amateur superstars that even at whatever age they are, some of them in their 30s, um, are fighting people like that 5 fights in. Yeah, this guy is 21 years of age, was a decent amateur, but wasn't an unbelievable amateur, but it was a decent amateur. Yes, definitely say for sure. But and he's fighting people like that, and he's fifth. Well, he's 6 fights. Sorry, he was 5 fights in at the time, but he's sixth professional fight. And we're already talking about his next fight date and opponents, and that they're not going to be easy either. So, um, yeah, like absolute credit to him. He's an absolute pleasure to work with. I love working with Junaid because he has got no fear of fighting anyone. He wants to fight everyone. He's currently on holiday, telling me he wants to get back in the gym. He doesn't like even being on holiday by the sounds of things. So, and he just wants to get back in the gym and work hard, and he wants the biggest and best opportunities possible. And to work with someone like that at that age as well is really good. And it's even better because he's got a father-like figure as a coach in Grant Smith as well, who knows him way better than I'll ever know him, and knows when to push the button on him when he's ready to go and when he's not. And obviously Junaid fully trusts Grant as well, which is important. And yeah, and I agree with what people say. I think he is one of the best prospects in world boxing because I've seen him spar some of the top talents in world boxing already, and some of them can't even lay a finger on him. So, and he's had to force his way into being spoken about. Like I said, he wasn't an Olympian where you just get spoken about in your debut. He had to fight on the before the bell shows. He was knocking out good level guys. And now he's forced his way onto the main slot by fighting undefeated champions and beating them with ease. In my opinion, he didn't even lose a part of any round, but the referee seemed to think different. But that's up to him. But yeah, no, absolute pleasure to work with. And we've got some other exciting news outside of boxing coming for Junaid as well.
Ooh, any hints at all?
Don't know. Let's just say he might be on the old red carpet at some point.
Interesting. I'll try and find that out before it actually gets official. I'll try and do that just for you, Shane.
Yeah.
Just regarding the next one, obviously, I will say again, obviously, another prospect as well. I think he's been out of the room for quite some time now with an injury. John Hedges. When will we be able to see John Hedges back in the ring at all?
Then you think about it, it's not actually that long. It's only April.
Is it?
Oh, yeah, you fought on the age round, I don't know.
Oh yeah.
People say this to me all the time. I'm like,
That seems like a very, very long
you do
time.
fight more often, don't you? That's what it is. You do fight more often,
Yeah.
and that's and he's been overly. We've been quite quiet with him because he has had a really bad injury. He is on the mend. I think he goes back to full-time training next week, and I don't think he can punch for a little bit longer with that hand anyway. But where his hand injury, they take a bit of his bone from his hip, put into his hand. So it's not only a hand injury, it's now become a hip injury because of that, which meant he couldn't really run and stuff like that as well. So I've just been quiet on him, just until we got actual updates of how long he was going to be out, what the damage was, how long the damage was going to be out for, what are the lasting consequences of the damage as well. But it's all good, and he should be, I hope, in a good fight before the end of the year.
Perfect. Obviously, there's going to be two more I'm just quickly going to speak about. Guido Benina, I know he is actually in Vegas with yourself. It's a very big fight against Simon Keane. I don't think many people realise how difficult that is coming off of a loss to Jonathan Rice. Obviously, that was stopped on a cut. I know obviously he was winning the fight. Was it hard going into accepting that fight for Guido? Because that's quite a difficult fight to come back from.
Not really, because Guido backs himself. Guido should be undefeated, really. I know it's disrespectful to Johnny Rice. I mean, again, he won fair and square, but to land one shot the whole fight and it gives you a cut the referee stuff. It's still quite hard for me to accept because he won every round of ease, with literal ease going into that. And maybe that was his downfall. Switch off for a second, you get caught with a big shot, you get cut. It wasn't even hurt. It's got a freak cut on his eye, and what can you do? But it wasn't a hard fight to accept because it's a great opportunity. Chief support and a massive deal to Smith, well, Peterbiev Smith, and in Canada. Obviously, going into the guy's backyard, which is never easy. I think stylistically, Simon King really works for Guido. Simon King's never really stepped up. His best win today is probably still Eric Molina, which was in his last fight. Eric Molina has been done for about 8 or 9 years now. Um, respectfully, by the way, I don't even mean respectfully, but like, and in that fight, he was actually having success as well. He wasn't even like he was getting a number done on him. He was having success, like, but yeah, since that Wilder fight, which I know wasn't actually that long ago, but it was probably, it must be about a good 5 years ago or 6, so it must be. Um, he's never really been the same. Like he had one good round in that whole fight against Wilder, and then somehow kind of pretty much got a career out of it. But yeah, he will. Still Simon King's best when he got knocked out with Dillian Carmen. Rematched him and stopped him himself. So in fairness, he did avenge it. But yeah, he hasn't really stepped up. He was an Olympian though as well, I believe. So it's good amateur background. But I just think stylistically, that's the right fight to make for Guido, and it's a great opportunity. And Guido is 29 years of age, looking for good opportunities. We're not trying to have 6 rounds against journeyman and warm him up. He's ready for big nights and big fights. And that's what this is for him, I guess.
Was the Jonathan Rice rematch ever spoken about at all?
Sorry?
Was the Rice rematch ever spoken about at all with Top Rank?
What, the Rice?
Yeah.
Yeah, we were quite close to doing it, but Rice just didn't want to have the rematch, and then point blank, that's just honestly what it is, and that's not just credit Rice. I'm actually quite good friends with Ronnie Rice. Actually, he's a lovely guy, but yeah, point blank didn't want to have the rematch. Thinking he wanted to go on holiday for a long time or something. But I'm not laughing at him. It's just funny, isn't it? But
no worries. And obviously, just with regard to that, last person I'm going to speak about, actually, I've got another question after it, but Tommy Fletcher, probably on the Zhang Joyce 2 undercard, hard hitting cruiserweight. Just a quick word on Tommy Fletcher.
yeah, good performance last time out. Nice to get the stoppage back in. I think he boxed really well. Mark Tibbs done a good job in the corner. Yeah, good night. I'm looking for a little step up for him next time. Nothing major. I'm not looking for like a title or anything, but I'm looking for a step up guy who's going to come and bring it a bit more. I think he needs to learn that way. He's going to be coming out here and camp for a little bit. And if I'm being honest, there's no fight date actually confirmed yet. I mean, it's easy to assume he'll be on the bill because obviously Joe's headlining, and it is possible. It's not impossible, but it's definitely not confirmed yet. So.
No, so obviously, just with regarding S-Jam, I don't want to touch on that as well. And obviously, S-Jam isn't ever growing stable, and obviously, the people you have got under you are really good. Are you ever looking to increase your stable at all? Is there any new signings at all?
Watch this space.
Can you elaborate on that at all?
I can't really elaborate on it because again, not done, and again, not really for me to announce. But watch this space.
Perfect. I feel like that's a fair way to end the interview. I really appreciate your time
I've learnt
training.
my
I hope
lessons
training
now. I've
camp.
learnt my lessons.
I hope
Fool
training
me
camp
once,
does
you
go
fool
well
me twice.
with Joe out in Las Vegas. But thank you for your time, mate. Appreciate it.
Nah, anytime, mate. You look after yourself, all right?